Let's go. Where do you want to start?
The sports wrap. George, Ringer. How you been? It's
Hey, the Muni and a friendly crowd on a Thursday or a Wednesday afternoon.
I was going to say,
nice.
we kicked her back to a Wednesday, fit it into my busy schedule.
Yeah.
So, there's so many places to start, but I'm gonna start maybe where we finished a little bit last week, because I think at one point maybe towards the end of the last shows last week, we talked about the Kentucky Derby.
We did.
And of course, we found out that there may have been some shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure there was shenanigans. Somebody called the horse a junkie. But what they did was this is a rub, and it's an anti-inflammatory thing. And the whole idea is the safety of the horse. If you know yourself, if you have an athlete over there that's covering his injuries with whatever, he can actually hurt himself pretty good. And horses, especially 3-year-olds that are worth a whole lot more than me, have to pay. So I understand where the rules are. On the other hand, do you want to continue the story?
Well, they feel like that it gave Medina Spirit an unfair advantage. It has a steroid in it.
That's right.
So Baffert was already under. What's the right word? Under investigation, and now he's really got himself into a pickle. He will not be at the Preakness on Saturday.
Two of his horses will, including Medina Spirit. And
and as we record this on Wednesday, he's still in the mix. We'll see if he's still in the mix on Saturday.
We'll go through the list. I do know that we had an awful good time at the Kentucky Derby party, and I'm not sure we'll have a Preakness. They only have 10 horses running the Preakness this year, and so it's a quick crack. I hope everybody.
It always seems like that's what happens. A lot of horses don't, after running the Kentucky Derby, there's only 2 weeks, and they decide not to, put the horse in a truck, basically, from Louisville to Maryland, and decide not to do that. If you win the race, then you almost have to go. But and then of course you head to New York in 3 weeks for the Belmont, and see what happens. But will he win again?
Oh, he might. It was a surprise the last time, but apparently he's a well-trained horse.
Yeah, obviously there's something going on. Obviously, he may not be taking his steroid. He may not be taking his rub, and that might affect his racing. And so I'm saying that he will not win on Saturday. I'm going with Midnight Bourbon.
Well,
which you would. I think
there's nothing the matter with that. That's a very good pick. It's a heck of a name. Did you see that horse? It's almost black. It's almost beautiful. Horse. Which one of those horses is a dog? They're incredibly beautiful animals, and I'll watch the Preakness. I'll watch the Belmont too.
Yeah, I hope we can fit it into our busy schedules on Saturday, and maybe in between all the other stuff that's going on. So
my notes are scattered from all over the place, so we can go any place you want to go.
Did you watch any Gopher? I'm just going to go right down the list then. Did you watch any Gopher Softball this weekend?
I watched Gopher Softball on Sunday, and in fact,
that was the good one to watch, George.
Oh, it really was. But I'll tell you, those girls were impressive. They were swatting the turnip out of that softball, and back-to-back home runs. And you taking a look. You were looking at the cut that these women had on that ball. These are not your schmucky girls. You might meet them in the alley and they got a club. You're going to have the time. But the pitching was really, really good, and they were fun to watch. And I will watch whatever I get up this weekend.
Here's the thing about it. I know a lot of people, and I won't mention any names, how they feel about women's sports. I enjoy watching, especially the volleyball, women's volleyball, and especially softball. Those are the two that I enjoy watching the most. Don't ask me why. Maybe just because of whatever. But to me, that's they're incredible. And of course, Michigan won the first 3, and they hit a ton of home runs, George. It was crazy.
And I tell you, you got this McKenna Pardine, and she's Payne, and She just has a swat. There is just a nice big cut, and the lady that was pitching to them was no schmuck. She's a Big Ten.
Michigan's got two pretty good hurlers.
And so, but it was exciting, and it was senior day, and it was nice to see those girls. There's 5 seniors, and they've won a lot of softball games for the Gophers.
What I'm afraid of, and I hope doesn't happen, is that somehow, some way, when they put the NCAA tournament together here in a week or so, 10 days, whenever it is, that they don't decide to leave the Gophers out, because the Gophers are the second best team in the Big Ten, and to think that the Big Ten might not get 2 teams, much less maybe 3 teams. I understand there's a lot of good softball all around, but they were talking that, the Gophers are ranked 23rd in the nation,
and have a long credibility,
and then lost 3, and so now you start going with all the automatic bids and all the other stuff, and so I hope they've got Penn State this weekend. They'll be on Big Ten a couple times.
4 games.
So we'll see what happens. A sweep of of Penn State should do it.
And that should put them over the top. Yeah. So, as long as we're on Gopher Sports,
you might as well talk about Booth.
We lost Booth Gotch, and so thus far we have 1 left.
We got one Gopher left from last year that could have been on the team.
Yeah, and so I feel bad about that, and it's just we know that this portal thing was going to cause commotion. This is not surprising.
I think for 10 out of 11 it is, and it could be 11 out of 11 by the end of all is said and done. But he has brought in 6 players and then brought in a 7th.
Yes.
And Parker Fox from Northern State.
Yeah.
He made me very angry when I watched the NSIC tournament on Midco, because he was just, I don't know, he's got an attitude, and you know how I feel about the Randy Mosses and those kind of players when they play like that. Parker's kind of like that, but he's coming from Northern State to the Gophers, and we're going to find out if he can bring a little bit of that nastiness to the Big Ten.
Well, hey, Northern State, good prairie country. They can reach up. Marcus Carr is also splitting. I mean, he's going into the NBA draft thing, and that doesn't surprise me. He's got very good talent. Whether he can pop into that.
Yeah, it's going to be
bigs or not.
See if he can defend.
But there's Europe. There's all kinds of places where people can go play ball now, and so if you want to practice your game, there's no doubt that they could find a place.
Oh yeah. It's just declaring for the NBA and going and playing at some of those other levels.
I do feel bad about Guy.
You do?
I wish he would have stayed. There were times that he showed some promise.
Here's the issue I have with Booth Gotch right now. The reason why he left Utah was why? What was the reason?
Well, I think he wanted to come home.
He wanted to come home.
Yeah.
Guess what? He's leaving home.
Where's he going now?
Well, who knows? But he's leaving home. So, if you're going to come home, he's only got 2 viable options. I say either go to Wisconsin or he's got to go to Iowa. Those are the only two places that are close to home. Or Iowa State, maybe. Sorry about that. Ames, Iowa. I apologize to all you Cyclone fans out there. If that's the excuse why he left Utah was to come home, then that
was a bogus excuse.
Okay,
yeah.
There you go. Yeah. That's the point I was trying to make. Was it bogus or? Yes, Booth was injured last year. There's no doubt about that. But
I feel worse about other players than losing him. But
I'm still stunned that 10 out of the 11 guys decided to leave.
I am.
It still bugs me a little bit. What was Richard Pitino doing that Ben Johnson is not going to do for these kids? Is it a philosophy? Is it a style of play? Is it what is it?
Am I hearing cynicism come out?
No.
I hear what you're saying, and
I just.
Hey, since the time Bill Musselman got Ron B. Hagan, they called Ron B. Hagan the finest point guard that money could buy, and and that was a long time ago.
So that's what you think I'm saying, is that Pitino was paying these kids?
No, I'm saying that there's that
It wouldn't be beyond a Patino to
They
do
bought him a
something.
new pair of shoes. I don't want to talk about that.
All right,
Actually, no. He was, he did some good things while he was here. The fact of it is he just couldn't hold that together, and they never had. You forget when you go to college that you could go there for 4 years, which is not a long time, and get an education and kind of sink in some roots. And kids just really don't feel that way right now. They want to hit the road and go here and go there. I mean, to play for 3 and 4 different colleges is strange. To play for 6 and 7 years is pretty strange. So there's some sorting out that they're going to have to do, and now that the NCAA is going to have to ante up in terms of the image and whatever the thing is, that's going to cost them. I mean, right now they're hoping that they could send that to Congress to protect them, and if Congress protects the NCAA again, that might be bad.
It could be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Wyatt? What do you got? What else you got?
Let's talk about Wyatt.
Let's talk about Wyatt Ulrich.
Wyatt. Now, they played against Dayton, and I caught the second game, the Flyers, and they had a nice team, and Richmond was hitting the ball and moving the ball, and Wyatt is the leadoff batter, and he swings from the left, and boy, those balls bounce into the opposite side, and they were going into the corner, and he's getting extra bases. He runs really well. I saw him almost take away a home run out in center field.
Okay.
He can elevate. I don't know, how tall is he?
6 foot probably, 6'1".
But he's got good leaping ability. He's got a great physical instinct, and I hope he can keep on playing for a while. He is fun to watch.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so that once he got into the lineup, they would never get him out of the lineup.
Oh no, they can't. He's the best.
And the Spiders went 0-4 last week. They lost all 4 games to Dayton. But Wyatt went 1 for 5, 2 for 3, 1 for 2, and then his dad gave him some guffer, only going 5 for 6 on Facebook. 5 for 6 in one game. He was 9 for 16 for the weekend. You do the math on that. That's 563 for the 4 games.
It's just
he's not coming out of the lineup. I know there were some doubters out there and whatever else, and no, don't doubt Wyatt Ulrich's abilities.
I wouldn't do that. If I were the coach of that team, I know who I'd have leadoff batter, and it would be Wyatt. It's a perfect place for him, and he can see the field. You can see him thinking out there, and he shuffles those defenses around. No, he is fun to watch. And they go again on Friday at 2, I believe, and
get George Washington.
Big George Washington, and I will be catching pieces of that, no doubt. Yeah.
That sounds good.
ESPN Plus has taken a big chunk of my life that I didn't have. But
you're welcome, George. You're welcome. I'm glad I introduced you to it. Got you hooked.
Oh, get too.
Shall we stay in the college ranks and talk college football?
We can talk a little college football. I'll tell you what. I was thinking about this over the weekend because we had a discussion last week whether or not Fleck was doing the right thing by having trick plays, and we brought up Daniel Falala, the big tackle, but being at the fullback and throwing a pass into the end zone, and I thought, yes, there's 4 things that a player in that position can do. He can block, he can carry the ball, he can become a receiver out of the backfield, or he can throw the pass. Well, I see that blocking, that's exceptional. Running the ball, boy, that caused some commotion. I don't think they're going to put him on and turn him into a receiver. So the third best choice is for him to be the quarterback and throw the ball. I do know that there are assistant coaches all over the Big Ten that have seen this. And anytime Daniel Falala is in the backfield, there's going to be some coach that says he has even thrown a pass in the end zone. And it's like I thought that, and he says, well, if you were an opponent of his, what would you do? I would prepare for him to throw that pass out of the end zone because he's done it before and did it well.
Right.
And so, I'm not sure that was a trick play, but I was thinking about that, and I thought, No,
So you were thinking about that when South Dakota State threw it out to the receiver on the old double pass.
Yeah, that was back to the quarterback, and Gronowski just 24 yards, pump.
I got to watch a little bit of it while I was working at my mom's. I had the phone on, and every once in a while, and I did see that play. I just happened to walk by. But the thing about it, when Delaware's quarterback got hurt, the game flopped.
That did, and I'll tell you.
Even though he came back,
it's one of the things where, I mean, the offense for the Jackrabbits, it's great. But defensively, they held Delaware to 68 yards, and they had 7 sacks. And when you're running like that in that kind of game, 33-3, but Delaware was never really into the game.
So what does that say about Southern Illinois, who was ahead of South Dakota State most of the game and lost 31-26? I mean,
Southern Illinois is a mystery to me. They beat North Dakota State last year. I mean, they can beat some people. It's just like, you've had good football teams that have lost. Drives you nuts.
Absolutely. Well, then of course I went into the house at my mom's on Saturday to have lunch, and I thought, I'll turn the TV on, see what the score to the football game is. Well, it was 24-3, and they just started the second half.
They did.
And I'm like, click, turn the channel. I'm like, this thing's over. Well, about an hour and a half later, I get a little thing on my phone, and it says, Sam Houston State's come back and taken the lead 38-35, and I'm like, oh, did I miss the second half?
The second half, the third quarter was just insane. And, and the guy that was doing this was Jaquez Ezard, and he had a touchdown, and then they got the ball back, and then they punted, and then he ran for a touchdown. So they picked up 14 points in about 2.5 minutes just by Ezard, and from there they just kind of folded up, and I mean 24-3 at halftime. That's 21 points. It's hard to lose that, and they did. They were up 27-10 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter.
So does that mean that James Madison took their foot off the gas? They let up. They felt like they had it won. I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know. I think what happened, number one, was, guys like Mike Green and stuff, the line of scrimmage for Madison was controlled. But, the one touchdown they had was a throw out to the side, and down the field he went. Nobody could catch him. And then the next one. So there was really nothing that the defense could do. They just simply got caught. And and so once Sam Houston got the foot in the door, I will tell you this: on Sunday, it's going to be a real fine football game. And
who you picking?
I'm picking South Dakota State.
It's got to pick the Jackrabbits.
Yeah,
it's got to.
When they have a defense like that 68 yards against a pretty good Delaware team.
So we know both teams can score. We know that they got fair defenses.
Yeah.
Give me a prediction on the final score.
I don't know. 40-34.
Ooh, it's going to be. The defenses aren't going to be able to keep up.
There's too much offensive power on that, and it's just like the defense is going to have to come up with big plays. But you can play a good defensive play and still give up 35 points depending on what you're doing. It's depending on where you're at. And
absolutely.
And Sam Houston has a lot of good athletes, and they do a lot with those offenses. South Dakota, they're bone crunchers, and they got a quarterback that can crunch your bones, and and besides, they have all the confidence. This team thinks they can win it all, and they're going to go after it. So I'm looking forward to see it. I'm looking forward to see what these teams can do next fall. I look upon this whole season as being a giant spring practice. And so they're going to come back. They're only going to get 8 weeks off, and then they got to go back in the groove of things. And I know some college coaches hated to see their players disappear for 3 months, but in the old days, that's kind of what they did.
Right.
They don't do that anymore.
No, it's not that way.
No.
The times they have changed.
The times they have changed. They really have.
So what else? Anything else on the college football ranks?
I want to ask you, what do you think of Tim Tebow?
I'll say it this way. Tim Tebow got the short end of the stick for some reason. How many ever years ago that was? 6, 7, 8 years ago? I think he got. I think he got.
He's got a fan here, yeah.
I think he got shortchanged. I think for whatever, like I said, I don't know what the reason was. I think he was a good baseball player. Was he a Major League Baseball player? No. Coming back to play tight end for the Jags? Why not?
Well,
he's a heck of an athlete.
Number one, Jaguars are really kind of short of tight ends.
Okay.
As the whole league are a primo one, thus, Tyler Pitts goes. So it's you see this guy with his shirt off? That is nothing but muscle. He is getting a little older. I wouldn't want to learn how to be a tight end at 35, 36.
But he's an Urban Meyer boy, so
he's Urban Meyer's, and the general manager lives in the same neighborhood too. Oh. So he's got this covered.
I don't think it's a publicity stunt.
I don't think it is either.
I don't think. Tebow has got an itch to scratch. He still's got that competitive fire in him. Let him go play. Let him give it a whirl. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, great.
Did you guys get a chance to see DK Metcalf run?
I did not.
Against, look it up.
Okay.
He took off with some of the fastest guys, second-tier world-class sprinters, right? Second tier. He ran the 100 meters in 10.33, 10.336 or whatever. He was the last one in the line, but he was also the biggest one by far. And to see something that big, but what I wanted to point out was there's a difference between track speed and football speed. And here football, this is one of the fastest guys in the league, and he had a pretty good start, mid-thing, his stride was going, and then all of a sudden, whoop! And but he leaned into 10.33, which isn't bad.
No.
I couldn't do that in my bicycle. But anyway, you take a look at that because he's one of my favorite athletes, and he is fun to watch. And as your opponent, he can destroy you as he has done. But yeah, anyway, that was kind of fun. Let's see here, Sam Hill. We talked about Sam. Weakness on Saturday. Let's go to the Timberwolves.
He wants to talk Wolves, everybody. Wolves.
You want to know what happened?
They decided they were going to start playing basketball.
They started playing basketball. And Towns and Ant, they are just kicking butt and taking names. And it's not only that. I mean, even Rubio got, I don't know, what did he have, 19 points last night? And so they seem to be playing well. Now, whether or not their defense can hold, because Detroit doesn't have that good a team.
I think part of it is the teams they played, Orlando and Detroit are in their league.
Yeah.
If they can keep the mix together, and D'Angelo Russell said this the other day, we're playing for Chris Finch. They're all pulling in the same direction. And I'm not saying that they weren't playing for Saunders or they weren't playing for Thibodeau, blah, blah. There's always going to, if everybody's pulling in the same direction, that's a big deal. And it seems like right now that's what's happening.
Yeah, no, I think it is too. And they had 5 guys in double figures last night, and Anthony at he had, 22, 21, 17. When you start getting points like that, and boy, can they shoot. When they get warm, they can really put them
Now they can pour it on.
Yeah.
Well, they were ahead of Orlando by 43 points in the second half at one point on Sunday night. I mean, I don't care who you're playing, but when you're playing somebody of that caliber and you're up by 43, I don't know. Are they blowing their first-round draft pick? And does it? And maybe I should say it this way: does it matter?
I'm not sure it does.
It would be great to have a top 3 pick. I don't know if there's a stud out there in the top 3, but I'll say this: they're only going to lose a handful of ping pong balls when they throw them into the lottery thing anyway. So it's a crapshoot anyway. Go play basketball.
Go play basketball. Play the basketball the best you can.
They got 3 games left. By the time we get done, by the time we show up here next week, the season will be over. So.
Oh no, they were fun to watch. They were just fun to watch. And when you get Russell and Reed and Rubio supporting those other two, because I'll tell you, and he has the makings of a superstar, and so is Big Carl. I mean, these guys.
Yeah, and Finch said Edwards has got to start playing defense.
He does.
And then once he does that, then he will be a superstar.
I
because
think so.
think about when you start playing solid defense, how many transition buckets you can get makes it even easier.
Yeah, we live and die by D, and they should too.
So, let's finish off the season strong. Like I said, I'd rather watch them win than them getting pasted by 25 points.
No, you won't watch that. And neither will other fans.
That's true.
And right now, all of a sudden, professional basketball is getting a little energy in the cities. And I brought this up weeks back. This is the generational change. And and I mean, I see Big Willin yesterday. He was swatting the ball all over the place. Nobody else was doing it for him, for the Twins.
Right.
And Kaprizov. I mean, hey, super stud. And this is the young generation.
Yeah.
It's fun to see. It really is.
Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lohr let their 30-day window, exclusive negotiation window, go by and didn't finish the deal. Are we just going to stay in this pattern of nobody buying the Wolves and the Lynx? Or
I don't know.
Did Glenn Taylor say you ain't moving this team, and if you are, get out?
A-Rod was going to move that team.
I believe that.
Yeah, I think he was going to move that team, and go find themselves a brand new arena and all the rest of that. They'll sell that. I mean, they want right now. What is it? They want the Oakland Athletics to get out of town and go find one of these millionaire billion-dollar stadiums to.
Well, and the scary part about the Oakland thing is, George, is that they said they would throw almost $1 billion in to developing this waterfront spot with hotels and all. They would throw in $1 billion, but the city's got to pony up a little bit too, and they just are looking the other way. So when Oakland left for Vegas and Golden State went across to San Francisco, I'm just kind of like, I don't know if Oakland deserves a team.
Well, if they're going to deal with
and I know there's some people out there that would say, oh, wow, they're just holding the city and the state ransom so that they can make some more money. Yeah, that's what it's all about, folks. But guess what? The Target Field got built on taxpayer dollars, and it's essentially paid. I mean, it's getting paid off faster than anybody ever thought through a simple sales tax. And I say simple. A lot of people would say, well, geez, if you go in there, you got to spend an extra penny or a half or whatever. Come on, it's the way things get done. Yes, the rich are getting richer. You don't have any problems when you're paying for oil and gas and everything else. So what difference does it make about a baseball or a football or a hockey team? Let's get it done. So I feel bad for the people in Oakland that I think pretty soon they're not going to have a team to cheer for.
I think that's fact. So and they don't have a football team anymore. And I wish they could get that together because, hey, Charlie Finley would have wanted that team to stay in Oakland.
Yeah. And why not?
And why not?
That's the way I look at it. So as long as we're talking about baseball, you want to talk about the Twins any more than what you already did?
Well, they're 12-21.
I'm ticked.
And
I'm sick and tired of this.
One of my guru friends says, I'm done it. They're done for the season. You sound so optimistic on the last show. I'm not that optimistic. It's time to make some trades and make some changes. And I thought, whoa, does that start with the manager? Yes. So it's people want wholesale.
Thad Levine said the other day, the analytics show that we should be a 500 baseball team. Okay, fine, you should be a 500 baseball team. But it is obvious to me that the pitching staff needs an influx. We need somebody. We have to make a change sooner rather than later. There,
they were playing hope. They were playing hope for a closer, and they were playing hope for a middle. I mean, these days, modern pitching after the sixth inning, they're mostly going to dip into their relief plot, and they have to have it.
And that was another mention someplace along the way about you got to let the starters go a little bit further because obviously right now the bullpen's not doing the job, so you're going to have to let those starters air it out a little bit and get into the 7th inning, maybe get into the 8th inning. But here's the thing, and I never thought about it this way, but this current coaching staff, however you want to look at it, is a breaking ball pitching mentality, and it's gotten more and more breaking pitch. And here's the thing, if you're going to throw a lot of breaking pitches, you have to get the other team to chase bad pitches. Well, guess what, folks? They're not chasing bad pitches. They've got the formula figured out. So what do you got to do? Well, that means you got to start throwing more fastballs. Well, these guys don't have the fastballs that they used to. They're not throwing 94, 96, 97. They're throwing 89, 90, 91. And most major leaguers can catch up with that. So it's a recipe for disaster right now with the pitching staff. I think I saw that the bullpen is 1-11 on the season.
Oh, yeah, I know.
1-11. And of course, I'm not happy with Kenta Maeda because I only watched probably about 4 outs last night of that entire game on Tuesday night, and he had a guy 2-2, and then he started to try to pick the corner. Okay, fine, pick the corner. I understand that you have to do that, and then he missed with 2 breaking pitches by about this much.
Yeah, they were way away.
And I'm like, you on 3 and 2, you got to throw it someplace even close. And I understand you lose the handle on one every once in a while, but to me,
they're just not piecing their game together from top to bottom, and you know, there's some good people on there. I think Simmons has really been good in terms of defense, and Donaldson when he's around, and all the rest of that.
That begs the question about the injuries.
Yeah,
you know, they just get Luis Arraez back. Sano was gone. Buxton's been gone multiple times. We've had the COVID issues, all this other stuff, and you just kind of like, okay, do I need to wait? Okay, I'm willing to wait on the offense, that it's going to come around, they're going to start getting some timely hits. But the pitching staff, we need somebody. Now, I don't know who you're going to trade to get that person, but they're going to have to do something sooner rather than later.
Well, I agree. I mean, the staff just isn't there, and they have to pull it over the hump. But, you know, I remember reading a story about some of the pitchers of old, like Warren Spahn. They oftentimes pitched 13, 14 innings on the whole thing, for the whole time. I remember Jack Morris in the World Series game pitched 10 hard innings, and he was going, well, he was throwing all kinds of stuff. Jack was pretty good that game, and you know, and so I know that these pitchers can last a little bit longer, and if you don't have the bullpen, you just don't have the bullpen.
And then here's the next kicker I found out this morning. We all know who Randy Dobnik is. They sent him down to St. Paul. They're trying to turn him back into a starter. So they're opening up. So now, I'm not saying Dobnik was a great choice as a reliever, but now you've taken one of the guys that you depended upon over the past couple of years, and you've taken him out of the possibility of coming back, I believe, as a reliever. So I don't know what they're going to do. The Saints, I believe, are 2-7, 2-8 on the regular season.
They got bombed out of Iowa last night, you know. But Iowa's a good team, and you know, that's the Cubs affiliation, and they load up that team. I watched the Iowa Cubs play the Memphis Redbirds, and they did not like each other. It was like a football team going on there, and you know, and so I think that same kind of rivalry is going to come with the Saints. Just going to have to take a little while to settle it in. But Gardenheimer is you know, he's.
What scares me about that is if our AAA team is 2-8 or 2 and whatever, there's no help in the system to come and influx into the big boys. So.
You know, Gardenheimer is, I mean, he's got the legacy. You can always call up the old man and say, what do I do next? But, it's, we'll see what happens.
Let's talk Wild.
2
games left as we record this show. One tonight, one tomorrow night. So by the time you watch this show, they'll probably have played both those games, quote unquote. It really probably doesn't matter what they do in those games.
They're going to get the Avalanche. Are you going to get?
Would you rather have Vegas or Colorado? That's my question.
I guess 6 of one, a half a dozen other, as I see it. And I'll tell you what, it's like we would always be concerned about, boy, it's going to be the Avalanche or it's going to be Golden Knights and all the rest of this. I want them to be saying, these guys are coming to town. These guys are coming to win. And I've noticed the last couple of games, and I will watch tonight, the intensity is picking up nicely.
Yeah.
And it's just like they are getting ready for playoff, and the Scooters, they got smiles on their face. And I mean, if you take a look at Kaprizov, in the last 6 games, he's had 5 goals and 5 assists. That's 10 points in 6 games, and Kevin Fiala he's had 8 points in 5 games. These, they are playing. I think they can play with either one of these teams, depending on when your goalie is. And Dumba is a very annoying defenseman.
He annoys me as well. Yes, not just the other team. He annoys me at times because he still makes foolish mistakes that a guy with that much experience shouldn't be making.
I'm not sure. I mean, you must be talking when he goes to the net, but
he makes some choices that are just kind of like, well, you're a defenseman. You got to think defense first, offense second. But if you want to play forward, go play forward. But
I'm going to tell you right now. And when Bobby Orr was playing defense with Boston, 75% of the goals that were scored on Boston was when Bobby Orr was on the ice. He was the leading scorer for defensemen for years and years,
yeah.
but it was because he was always out of position, and I guess maybe they knew that, so they would trade so many goals. I got a grandson that wants to beat it to the net all the time. He's been playing defense. You could see him. He just wants to go. So,
they said something on the hockey telecast the other night on TV that after they had their COVID issue, the Wild, they lost the first game back against Los Angeles. And at that point, I believe LaPanta said they were 6-6. Since that time, they're the best team in the NHL.
Yeah,
So, they're 5-1-2 against Vegas. They're not so good against Colorado. But right now they're playing some interesting hockey, more overtime games again against Anaheim.
And they're winning them.
And they're winning them. See, that, like I told you last week, that's a recipe for disaster. And then they went out and won 2 games in overtime over the Ducks. Anyway.
No, I'll tell you what, Kaprizov has made the difference on this team. He is the piece that every hockey team wants, and for him to have these kind of skills, his youth and all the rest of that, I just hope they can keep him around for a while. But boy, I'll tell you what, that is one scooting Russian, and he is fun to watch.
You just don't know what he's going to do next, and that's what keeps the other team off balance as well.
No, you do not.
Anything else about the Wild?
I'll tell you, they're going to be fine as long as they can keep up with the goaltending, and Talbot is.
I'm not worried about the goaltending.
Well, then I think they're going to be fine. That's when when it comes to playoff, I watch these goaltenders, and they're amazing. They just really, really are amazing.
Yeah, I think Talbot, gets a share of the starts. Kapanen might have to come in and get, but I think if the schedule works out right, Talbot will probably play most of the games once the playoffs starts. So he's played well, and I have no reason to believe that he's not going to continue to play well. So
I agree.
How about Minnesota United? How about the Loons? Are they infuriating?
Well,
they're more infuriating than the Twins.
They scored
twice early.
Yeah,
I was excited. I went to bed wrapped up, no bit.
Was that their first scores this year?
Huh?
Was that their first
No,
scores?
that was their second and third. And third goals. And then they lose 3-2 to Colorado. They get to play tonight against Vancouver at home.
Yeah.
So pretty nice night for soccer. So
really?
Hopefully they.
So how many people are they going to allow into that stadium?
I thought I heard 4,000. It holds like 20 or 21,000.
Yeah.
I think I heard 4,000. Give or take a few.
Well, there's some sports-hungry people out there. Remember, bread and circuses, and there we are.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about the Loons other than they better win tonight, or it's gonna, they're already calling for Heath's name. They want him out. That he doesn't make the right adjustments. That he gets outcoached in the second half. Blah blah blah.
Well, I should get a Loon T-shirt for my wife. She likes Loons.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about the Minnesota Lynx? Friday night?
I tell you, the Lynx, if they, they got to piece together a lineup yet, and I'm not sure that they've done that. They're still missing some parts, but I think they might be all right.
Cheryl says they're going to shoot the heck out of the three.
Well,
they shot 21 per game last year in the bubble. She said we're gonna try to shoot 30 this year per game, which I thought, okay, it's a 40-minute game, 1-3 per minute, shot clock's 24. Okay, I guess I can live with that. Some of the ladies that are three-point shooters gotta like to hear that. I got a green light to shoot, right?
Well, on transition they kick it out from inside the paint. They can kick it out. There's people out on that perimeter waiting to shoot it on any game these days. That's
they've got a big task to try to take down Las Vegas and Seattle in the West. But in the big picture, they see the conferences really don't matter. They go mix them all up, and who's ever got the best records, the one. And so forth and so on. So I've got positive feelings about the Lynx.
I do too.
So how about Russell Westbrook getting his 182nd triple-double of his career?
Isn't that something? I mean, you take a look at that and you just, no, that's a career. That's a career.
And he took down one of the guys from your time.
Yeah.
So, Elgin Baylor, I believe, had the 181. I think, if I got that wrong, I could be wrong. It could have been Oscar Robertson. I thought it was Elgin Baylor.
I think it's the Big O.
Could be the Big O.
Yeah, he was.
So, anyway.
I saw both Oscar and Elgin Baylor play on the court at the same time. That was worth a rush.
It's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
So, how about the NFL schedule coming out tonight?
Well,
do you care?
No. It's, there are all these teams and they're shuffling them around, and what they're going to do is they're going to pick, especially the first 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to pick the teams that had the best games the year before. It's kind of that money-making type situation, and I want to see the Vikings play football, and I want them to have a better team than they had last year, and I'm curious as to what they can do to make those adjustments. But I'm a lot more concerned about Minnesota playing Ohio State than I am about.
They get to go to Cincinnati for game one. They get to go play the Bengals the first game, and we'll see if Joe Burrows has got his legs back underneath him, literally. And they didn't draft the big tackle to protect him.
Yeah.
So, but they drafted a pretty fast wide receiver. So we'll see if how that all plays out. But the schedule comes out Wednesday night, and we'll find out if we already know who the Vikings are playing. They're just telling us when they're going to play everybody in this 17.
Well, they're going to start on Thursday and have all the games Thursday, Saturday, all the games on Sunday, and then another game on Monday. So you can watch a lot of football.
You can watch lots of football.
Lots of football.
Anyway.
Yeah.
How about the high school league and putting in a section in state tournament for girls wrestling?
Funny you should ask.
Funny I should ask about a wrestling question to a former wrestling coach.
Well, I'll tell you, they were talking about this right now. There's some 125, 126 girls that are involved in wrestling, and they're all hooked up to boys' teams. When I watch the women wrestle in the Olympics, and you'll see this summer, these women are very good wrestlers. They're sound, basic, fundamental wrestlers, and they train very hard, and they're very good. And what they're going to do is they're going to allow the girls that are wrestling with the boys to have their own tournament. They're looking at 12 different weights from 80 pounds to 220. So I'm not sure how they're going to work this out. But I'm really looking forward to it. I know some of these girls, and you take a look at Augsburg and some of the rest of these small colleges. They've been very effective with their women's program.
Here's what shocked me about this whole thing. there are 30 other states that already have a
this.
girls' state wrestling
There are
tournament.
20,000 girls in the country that wrestle.
So for me to think about Minnesota, and I'm not saying that we have a ton of girl wrestlers, but it shocked me that there were 30 other states that had a tournament with with the boys. So it's about time, I guess.
Yes. No, this is the time they are changing it. I mean, when I first broke into coaching wrestling and be involved in wrestling programs, somebody would say, "This girl wants to come out for wrestling. Come on!" And I would go through elementary things, and girls won often. They're tough, and I mean, growing up, which one of you guys didn't know some real tough women and girls?
Ask my older brother who was tougher, him or his younger sister.
Well,
Oh, Vicky Ringhofer Wine Club, you're gonna have to let them know why I said that, because I'm not telling them I said that.
no, there's another half to this story though. The boys volleyball, they said no. And they said come back and try it again next year, but there's some people that are pretty upset by this.
They said it had to do with money.
Yeah.
That AA schools, the smaller AA schools couldn't afford it. And I'm like, hogwash, hooey. You know what ticked me off about it most, George? They voted these two sports on whether they were going to be or not going to be. They voted on these within like a 10-minute window, 8-minute window, 5-minute window.
Yeah.
Girls wrestling was voted in favor 44-4. There's 48 people who got a chance to vote. 48 people voted. 5 minutes later, 7 minutes later, 8 minutes later, whatever it was, only 47 of them voted. Now I want to know who that 48th person was who didn't vote. Because to me that's crap. A, B.
The whole foundation of your argument is weak. Budgetary restraints, okay, yeah, budgetary restraints. Potential Title IX conflicts. Well, if this was a real issue, the potential Title IX conflicts would have been number one. And then the third one is a reluctance to add a sport. Well, I mean, when you go down to the city, you have everything from lacrosse to tiddlywinks. There are more sports and different things, and they're able to do this because they have the kids and the money. But the fact of it is, you have an opportunity to do something like this. And I know I've seen men's volleyball teams. They're good. They are incredibly powerful. And
I was totally stunned by this decision. I'm failing to see the whatever to this. There's, and I know there are sports where there's only girls or boys, i.e. volleyball being the biggest one, but there's girls badminton, but not boys badminton. Somebody's got to explain that to me.
Well, and
this is this Title IX issue. Well, we always come back to the football thing. Football, there's more boys that play, et cetera, so it's all got to even out in the end, and I'm like, okay, I mean, I get it, but are the opportunities there? And I'm saying, yes, the opportunities are there, so I'm really disappointed in the decision.
We have so many sports for girls now. 50 years ago, if we would have said, somewhere along the line, we're going to have girls basketball, girls hockey, girls track and field, all the rest of girls softball. All the people. What are all the first women's track team from International Falls won the state tournament.
Yeah.
And so, did you give those girls an opportunity? You did. Did they respond? They certainly did. And so when you see that, you just have to, I do know that there have been an awful amount of very fine female athletes up here, and without their opportunity, including my daughter, that would have been, my wife didn't have that opportunity.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I was real happy for the girls wrestling, but I did think that they fell on the volleyball, and so the answer to the volleyball was it was something like the timing wasn't quite right. Well, timing not getting quite right is pretty subjective in my mind.
So are they saying that if we hadn't had COVID, it would have been a different time?
Well, actually, they did kind of bring that up, and
to me, that's hooey.
Well, because they wanted it last year, and that was actually their excuse last year. Yeah.
Rainy River softball did win the North Division title last week. They are going to host the region tournament next week, starting on Thursday. They will be the #1 seed, and they'll have their perch going, and so hopefully they'll be able to take care of business. The Rainy River baseball team also is North Division champs. That was decided on Sunday as Itasca and Vermilion split their 4-game series. So Rainy River ends up 10-6, and they are the Northern Division champs. They start their region tournament this Friday. They're the #5 seed overall out of 10 teams.
Will they have that here?
And that will actually be in St. Cloud.
Okay.
They've got double baseball field there.
Yeah, they do.
So they'll play that down there. It'll be over 2 weekends, and they'll have 2 5-team pods, and they'll play it down to 2 teams left over on each side, and then they'll go play a double elimination tournament the following week with those 4 teams. So it's a busy week. Rainy River baseball team, I think I talked about them last week that they hit 16 home runs in 3 games. They had 2 kids, John Michael Gonzalez Jr. and Mateo Sierras get named All Northern Division, and John Michael Gonzalez was named Player of the Year for the North Division. No shock. He leads the nation with 63 RBI. Yeah.
So is he a freshman or a
He's a freshman.
So theoretically he could be back next year.
He'll be back next year. Everything you talk to this kid, he's coming back next year. Absolutely. And then Josh Koenig was named Coach of the Year for the North Division. So congratulations to all those guys on what they did. And again, second time they won the division in the last 3 seasons played. Take out the COVID year, and so seems like they've got something going there, and hopefully they'll do well this weekend and get a chance to play the following weekend.
Well, it's nice to get all these kids from all over the country to come to good old International Falls and succeed.
Yeah.
It's and we've had football up here and basketball with some success, but right now the baseball has been pretty much
very
doing
good.
the job.
As Josh would say, their record's 15-24 overall. They had a pretty slow start, but they put their hitting shoes on the last few weeks, and it all starts with John Michael Gonzalez. When I write him down on my piece of paper, I just put JMG, because there's only one guy in town.
I saw the statistics in the paper, and I had a double take. You got to be kidding.
He's batting .468 in 39 games. He's batting .468.
Wow.
It's incredible. He's a center fielder. He comes in and relief pitches. He probably drives the bus, and I've said it on this show before, and I'll say it again. One of the nicest kids you ever want to meet. He's just a great kid. So
sports does bring that out in kids sometimes.
It does.
Fantastic.
What else?
I think that might be all I got, but I did. I knew you were going to ask what music I've been listening to. We had a ZZ Top party the other night. ZZ Top Live. The cops were called, but we told them we'll turn it down. No, they were playing with Jeff Beck and Billy Gibbons were just cranking it, and every time they started picking the volume, however it happened, accident probably got turned up.
Yes.
And pretty soon Sue would come up and says, the dogs are wondering what's going on because they're deaf. They can't hear it. But anyway, ZZ Top was incredible this week for music, and it's got a 2-album thing, about 14, 15 cuts. But
good stuff. It was
good stuff. And a couple of books. I got new books come in. I've been worried about this. On Juneteenth, this is an Annette Gordon Reed book, and this is a very small book about the Juneteenth and the freeing of the slaves.
Sure.
And I started paging through it and had to put it away because I didn't want to read it yet. And it's
Are you waiting for June to read it?
No, this doesn't take a long time to read, but I've got a couple of other finish-ups. But the one that I have for the summer, and my eyes might have been bigger than my appetite, but it's called The Age of Decadence. It's a history of Great Britain from 1880 to to 1914, and it's just under 900 pages long. And
It'd take me about 3 years to read that.
well, as they described it, he says this will get you through the month of May, June, July, and perhaps part of August. So this is my summer read.
Ooh.
But you can't read that and listen to ZZ Top.
They don't mix.
Can't be done.
Can't be done. So
Anyway, I think that's the end of my sports notes.
okay. We'll forego the Bronco and Little Fork updates. Their playoffs are coming, and so we'll talk about those guys next week.
Okay.
Nothing personal to those teams. It just
They have all these other teams. I mean, I watched. I mean, the Twins were off on Sunday. They were rained out, and I flipped over and watched the Gophers play softball. It was the most enjoyable sporting event of the weekend. It was fantastic, well, except for the football. But I will be watching the Gophers play softball. They were fun to watch.
Yeah, like I said, I hope they make the tournament and we'll get a chance to watch them and go from there. So
Yes.
all right.
Hey, thanks.
Go
the Munis.
Go Midnight Bourbon, Preakness Steaks. That's your winner. Put your $5 in the bucket. That's your winner. Thanks everybody.
Bye.